The Lunar Guardsman. Written by Krimar. Chapter 7. Opening Doors. Part 1. Pinkie Pie was going to be okay. When Rigdon was done with his, unconventional method of helping Pinkie Pie, it was finally time for both groups to offer their apologies and thanks to each other. Rigdon stood before them, his whole being focusing on the bruises he had given them, especially the one on Twilight's own face. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. I'm sorry for... He didn't make it any further before their massed attack. Rigdon stood resolute, refusing to bend or fall under their assault. Twilight had leaped high enough to grapple her forelegs around his throat. Rainbow and Fluttershy used their winged advantage to attack his shoulders and arms. Applejack and Rarity went around his midriff. Spike, with a smaller stature, was able to wrap himself around Rigdon's head. It was a hug to be retold as a legend. If only Pinkie Pie was awake so she could join in. I guess my apologies are not needed, he said, subdued. It was a great ruckus as all 6 of them tried to make their own apologies heard. Spike was crying and begging Rigdon to forgive him for trying to burn him. Rarity, Rainbow, and Fluttershy were apologizing profusely for attacking him while he was trying to save their friend from them. Applejack was begging him to let her make it right by him. Twilight herself was swearing she would never distrust him again. Yes, it's all very tragic. We have all learned a lesson today. Can you get off now? They all clamped on him even tighter. Luna was chuckling at him as she watched. My mighty warrior has fallen before the cuddling strength of 5 mares and a baby dragon. Maybe I put too much faith in you, she teased him. Make no mistake, Luna. I can get out of this any moment, and when I do, you are not going to like it. Luna laughed at his challenge. Oh? Do your worst. I know you're not going to perform the slightest offensive action against them. You are trapped. Rigdon shrugged as much as he could, shaking Rainbow and Fluttershy as they nuzzled his neck. Your funeral? He cleared his throat with a series of loud coughs. Gee, is no one going to thank Luna with a hug? She was the one who identified the poison and saved Pinkie Pie from a magic overload, after all. No, Rigdon, you traitorous bastard! And free.
Dig me out,
Luna's muffled voice ordered. A few minutes later, after they had all calmed down, Applejack shared a few things with them while Rigdon and Luna sat further away, refusing to take part until they were done. It was quite the roller coaster ride for Twilight. First it was horror, fear, and sympathy when they were told that his attempt to kill them was just the latest in a long series of them. Then came the pity and sorrow when Applejack described their meltdown, along with some nice salting of confusion and uneasiness about exactly how close Rigdon and Luna were. The ride finished spectacularly with the reveal of what they wanted to do about the element of harmony. Horror returned for an encore under the loud applause of concern for their mentality as well as the anxiety about, well, everything would have to cover it. The crazy buckers wanted to destroy the bucking elements of harmony. Twilight's lips stiffened. She had to make sure she never said something like that out loud. Once was enough for this decade. It is understandable that Rarity, Rainbow, and Fluttershy shared in Applejack's feeling of the situation. They were going to help him, of course. The girls because they owed Pinkie Pie's life to Rigdon and Luna, and Twilight because of a decade of love. She wouldn't drop him off like a bad habit again. They would fix this situation, no matter what. Twilight, after her mind had cleared a bit, glanced at the end of the room where they sat. It hurt her to look at him. He had really become a mess in the space of one day. The wounds from the fight, then a scuffle with her friends. Thanks for reopening his stitches, Rainbow. And then having to bleed himself even more blood to save Pinkie Pie, with the potential of second or more times to come. His bruises, scars, and bloody bandages were highlighted upon his now pale white skin. There was no blood infusion to help him this time. Rigdon and Luna told him they only had the single bag in reserve, and they used it all up that same day. They had more, they said, but after the assassination attempt before this one, They destroyed them all rather than take the chance that any potential assassin actually had a speck of slight originality, or some pony got his hooves on something with what kind of potential. Rigdon had to endure as he was on the hope Pinkie Pie wouldn't need much more of his blood. Their path was clear. Step 1 was to make sure those two things did not do worse for themselves. Step 2, find who was trying to kill them. Step 3, help them. Twilight had a step 4 in mind, but she wasn't going to tell the girls about that before they all had the good night's sleep. Rigdon, of course, instead of resting for the remainder of the night, kept awake in full armor, standing guard outside the room as Luna slept. Luna, in her defense, tried to get him to be the one to rest. Stars forbid. They both trusted any pony else to stay awake and guard them while they both slept. But apparently, even the Alicorn of the Night could not move the block-headedness that answered to Rigdon when he truly made his mind. Twilight awoke in the morning along with Princess Celestia and Applejack, who insisted she tag along. They went to have a talk with a sleep-deprived, hurting, and very pissed Rigdon, who spent his night fuming over yesterday's events. Oh, the fun they were going to have. Twilight longed to wake the rest of her friends again, to participate in the joy of migraines. How bad was it? Well, Twilight would have thought she could think of quite a few analogies to make her point. Imagine finding yourself having sleep teleported into the middle of Everfree, or finding out the original mustache spell had an extended understanding of lips. Celestia forbid it was as bad as breaking a pinky promise right in front of her, but none of those could give the slightest understanding of the true scope of what greeted her. The first thing Rigdon said to them as they came in front of him was not, "Good morning," "Hello," or even a simple nod. No, the first thing he said? "Hey, Celestia, I'm going to kill Steadfast Ray in a little while, so can we hurry this up? We can all have breakfast together later." He even sounded all chipper about it. Yeah, such was the great glory that awaited Twilight today. At least, judging from the force that Applejack face hoofed herself with, she would have to accompany her in her misery. Twilight swore that everything they had agreed upon yesterday, said agreement being that both of them should try to be a little less reactive, was going through their ears as a shortcut to the garbage bin. Twilight put her hoof down and let down a sigh. It fell to her to try to be the voice of reason today. Rigdon spent about 20 minutes insisting that he would kill Commander Steadfast. Princess Celestia spent 20 minutes telling him no, in no uncertain terms. Rigdon was evidently hearing her say, "Insist some more, and I will let you go murder some pony." She woke up less than an hour ago. How was she so exhausted already?
"Rigdon," Twilight told him, "there is no way a solar guard tried to poison you as retaliation for yesterday. We went after Luna's room immediately after the fight. They couldn't have done it."
Rigdon either still had doubts, or didn't want to give up his plan on killing the Solar Commander. "They could have sneaked in at some point." Applejack sneered at the idea.
"What? They just made it past the two of you? How? You were up there all day. What were you so busy with that you wouldn't notice some pony come in and fool around?"
Rigdon scratched at his chin, a small stubble now on it, broken in crags by small scars that didn't let hairs grow on them. He was thinking over the question. What could he and Luna be busy with? Twilight's brain emptied a metaphorical bucket of bleach on itself in an effort to stop any unwanted mental images from forming. Verity was not right. The rest of her friends were making fun of her. This wasn't something that was happening. "We did nap for an hour or so," he answered. "Oh, thanks, Celestia," Twilight thought with a thankful glance at her teacher beside her. "It would take some balls for them to try and get in, true. They couldn't know if we were indisposed or not. On the other hand, we didn't notice you coming in yesterday either," he said with a frown.
"Okay, big fella, but the fact remains that you don't know. It's way more probable that some cretin, begging your pardon, your majesty, did that while you were out there. Maybe during the tournament, or sometime before. Am I right?"
Princess Celestia nodded approvingly at Applejack's explanation.
"Anyway, I don't believe my solar god would try something like that. They dislike you, even more since yesterday, but I doubt they would turn underhoof measures. I trust Commander Steadfast to obey my orders not to take any hostile actions against you."
"Oh, yeah, that worked out great yesterday. Nice job," Rigdon answered sarcastically. followed with a short clap.
Do we have to go through the same discussion, Rigdon? I have reprimanded him severely for his choice of actions, even with his exemplary service so far, and the fact that, unlike you, he accepted full responsibility for the outcome. I would not have taken away his rank. But I could not do anything like that while Luna kept the other half of those responsibles safe from even the slightest repercussion, could I? I wonder, does the phrase "you reap what you sow" have any meaning to you?
More than you know. But some people get to reap things they never planted in the first place.
Like Heavyfoot's daughter. I met with her yesterday, you know. A sweet filly. The last words her father told her was that he would be back soon. She asked me why her dad lied to her.
Celestia sighed.
I am 1,000 years old, and I have no idea how you answer this question.
You don't, Rigdon answered. You just say to them you don't know, and why you let them find out on their own when they grow up. That is how the world is. He huffed and just stared at the wall for a minute, clearly lost in his thoughts. Twilight took a careful look at his eyes. They were bloodshot, and large bags of skin were hanging beneath them. But he stood erect and attentive. Twilight remembered her childhood, Rigdon keeping awake over a scared Spike that had nightmare, his presence giving the small dragon comfort. He would easily make it through the day without any rest, but he didn't usually go through the gauntlet as he did yesterday. He had to be feeling the effects, but... What was that Applejack told her he said? If we give the slightest opening, we will end up dead? Is that what this was? He refused to show weakness anywhere near public spaces? Twilight looked at her surroundings. Maybe the corridor of the castle infirmary. Outside of the door room where Luna slept today was not the best place to have the discussion. Rigdon had refused to move, however. Okay, I will concede that maybe, just maybe, to my eternal disappointment, it wasn't the Solar Guard behind this attempt. Twilight held her breath. Rigdon just slipped a little. Luna and he urged them not to reveal to Princess Celestia that there had been more attempts at their life. They all objected to this. It served no purpose and would only stop them from getting more support from the princess, but those two remained unmoved. Princess Celestia was to only know the bare minimum. Twilight wondered at the time if they were also allowed to learn only the bare minimum themselves. Rigdon caught on to what he did. One of his eyes trembled for half a second as he waited along with Twilight and Applejack to see if Princess Celestia had realized what he had potentially revealed.
In that case, you will be happy to know that I have ordered the Royal Guard to find our culprit.
Crisis averted, and a new one began. Oh, hell no. Rigdon told her in his gentle, polite way that he would prefer another option. They are staying out of this. Luna and I can look at this on our own. Applejack gave a loud cough full of meaning. Along with some help from Twilight and her friends, as they have so kindly offered. Lunar Guard, remember? Just because there is only one of me, doesn't mean I have the less authority in your power structure. Especially since I am by default my own commander. Unless, of course, your sister's decree don't have quite the same, oomph as yours do. Rigdon shamelessly baited Twilight's mentor. Princess Celestia must have known she was being played, but didn't seem to mind. In fact, she was smiling, a big, toothy grin that looked wrong on her.
Oh, Rigdon, some pony just tried to poison my little sister, my student, her friends, and you. Do you really think I was going to do the guilty part of the favor of keeping you out of it? You will be right there with them. The Royal Guard will just be doing most of the work. They have the means and experience.
Rigdon stopped leaning on the doorframe. He did not look happy, even with this arrangement, and his expression was getting outright murderous. The promise of personally finding those responsible was the only thing that had stopped him from going into the undiscriminating warpath. I do not trust your Royal Guard. They stay out of this. That's final. Twilight racked her brain to find a way to stop him from digging himself into a deeper hole. Think, brain, think. Distract him. How? Sprain your ankle. No, that's stupid. Break your ankle. Then while he's busy fawning over you, punch him in the back of his head. Maybe Twilight just didn't have it in her to be the voice of reason. She should apply for the voice of panic. Daisy, Rose, and Lily had that role well snagged in Ponyville, but Twilight believed she had the potential to go national. Thankfully, Applejack managed to keep a straight head, so someone who could actually think spoke for Rigdon.
How about shining armor? Rigdon trusts him, right? Can't they work together?
She flashed Rigdon a wide, toothy smile that said, "Don't blow this." Twilight couldn't believe she forgot about her Oh, shoot. She hadn't even visited him to say hi, had she? They all turned to Princess Celestia, waiting for her decision. The other corner of the sun sighed, backed into a corner to make a decision she believed to be wrong. Twilight wasn't sure if this was the right one either, but there was a limit to how much Rigdon and Luna could be pushed. If she overdid it, they would just lock her out and keep everything between them again. Then, one day, she would get a letter from the princess that wrote they were both dead.
Dear Twilight Sparkle, I regret to inform you that Rigdon and Luna are dead, but their memory will live on. The charred remains of my castle and those of half of Canterlot will be a monument that will make sure they will never be forgotten by the few stragglers that managed to survive. Your crippled teacher, Princess Celestia. P.S. When Rigdon mentioned a chemical recipe that made fire that could not be quenched with water, he wasn't joking.
Twilight suspected she was beginning to develop some serious issues.
Fine. You will have the personal help of Captain Armor and whatever resources you and him agree to use together. The rest of the guard stays out of this until you decide otherwise. You will be in command of the investigation officially, as you asked, but Shining Armor has seniority. If he makes any suggestions, I insist that you take them to heart. Oh, and stop petting your weapon. You are not allowed to ask questions with it until you have the actual pony who did it in your hands.
Rigdon crossed his arms over his chest with a pout. You used to be so fun once. I remember the times you put a sign that read, "Complaint Department" around my neck and had me stand next to your throne on the days you were overflowed with applicants. Celestia gave an embarrassed cough.
I, needed to free some time in my schedule to reach Twilight. You know that.
Why, yes. It cut down so much of daily court that we could even head to Donut Joe's place. Princess Celestia started fidgeting. Before you started on the lesson, I might add. We used to have fun together, Celestia. What happened?
You came at me with a spear,
she said with a sad smile. Rigdon sighed in that answer. I miss those days, he said wistfully.
As do I. It's up to you if they will return.
I am well aware.
How are you feeling, by the way?
You care. I'm fine, he shrugged. I wish you guys had painkillers that actually worked on me, but I can take it. It's not like I have any other option anyway. He chuckled.
I will brief Captain Armor on his new assignment, and he will meet...
Princess Celestia was interrupted by a terrified shriek originating from the room behind Rigdon. Twilight couldn't believe her ears, but it sounded like... Luna. Rigdon moved instantly. He grabbed the door handle and only paused briefly to give an order before he went inside. No matter what, you do not come in. Do you understand me, Celestia? Stay out! He thrust the door open and rushed inside, moving with a speed he rarely displayed. Luna's scream still echoing down the corridor. Princess Celestia moved towards the door, but held back from opening it. Twilight moved as close as possible, striving to listen for what was happening inside. Rigdon's voice was loud and pleading, piercing through the alicorn's wails. Luna, it's me. It's me. Wake up. You are here with me. Come on. It's just a dream, Luna. You are not there. Luna, wake up. Please. Please wake up. The screams stopped and were replaced at once with a loud, desperate sobbing. Twilight looked at her sister and paled at the sight. Princess Celestia's expression was one of grief and disbelief. Twilight had never seen the white alicorn lose her calm like this.
Oh, Luna. Why are you hiding from me? Why won't you let me help you?
She whispered to no one before turning around and leaving, her pace faster than normal. Twilight didn't know what to think. She turned to Applejack, her posture asking for some answers, and Applejack just shrugged. Figures. There we go. The end to part 1. This is a rather long chapter, so next release of this should be a little longer, probably around 40 minutes. Hope you guys don't mind a slightly shorter upload. And my apologies for missing yesterday. I do try to do daily, but sometimes I just miss the mark or get too tired. Who aren't too tired, because they are amazingly generous, are my wonderful donators. Thank you, Chase Lemaster, HKH4, aka Texture, The Animated Ghost, Solus, Mark the Wolf, and Stu Hex. And of course a large thank you to Silent Titan. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate your support so much. If you want other ways to support me, well, your viewership is more than enough. However, leaving a like and comment down below does mean a lot, and I do respond to comments. Anyways, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.